In this video, we'll explore constructions of quadrilaterals. Now I have a quadrilateral here, four-sided figure, and I can drag it around, but you see it has its issues. It doesn't actually hold anything. So it's kind of hard to actually discuss any properties of quadrilaterals because of everything being free and not restricted in any way. So what we're going to look at here is how can we create some of our basic quadrilaterals that actually will function as quadrilaterals all the time. And we have to think about what are the properties we have for quadrilaterals. So if I start with a rectangle, if I think about what makes a rectangle, I know that opposite sides are parallel and opposite sides are perpendicular. And consecutive sides are perpendicular. So if I start with a line segment, what I know is I should have two perpendicular lines, one coming off of F and one coming off of E. So I could use my perpendicular line tool. I click on my segment, I click on E. I click on my segment, I click on E. Now I need to create the fourth side. So what I know is that fourth side's got to be parallel to EF and perpendicular to each of these two sides I just created. So I'm just going to put a point on one of my new lines. And I can tell that point is now bounded on this line. It has to stay on there. Nothing I do can take it off that line. So if you think about what it takes to make a parallel line, parallel lines need a point and a reference line. And if I look for how to construct it, I have my point and I have my line I want to be parallel to. So I click on those two aspects. And if I go back to my move tool, I now have the fourth side parallel, and no matter how I drag this, it always stays a rectangle. Now I'm going to put a point at the intersection here, and I'm going to hide my four lines, or my three lines that I just created, and now connect my dots, or my points, with segments. And from there I can actually go through, I can measure side lengths, I can measure angles, I can move the points and see what does that do to my rectangle. You can even see that some points do nothing. When I do point H, because the way this is created, it does nothing. Whereas G makes it wider and narrower. E and F can change the rotation and the size. So if I want to measure, I come to my drop down that says angle. If I want to measure a side, I would click on my 2 points, and you see it gives me that measurement. I can do that again over here, HF. See, my sides are equal. And I can even do the measures here by clicking on the segments is another way, and see that the segment measures show up right there with it as well, and they're congruent. And if I want to check my angles, I could click on my points. There's a 90-degree angle. There's a 90-degree angle. All 90-degree angles, which is exactly what I'd expect.